Super Mario Bros. Mushroom Mythology. Now, this is a cool one. Super Mario Brothers Mushroom Mythology. Where did it come from? The Super Mario mushroom is based off the fly Agaric, Amanita Muscaria, a large red mushroom with white spots and gills. The fly Agaric is a well-known toadstool species and is often featured in popular culture, including video games. Its first and most common effect is causing small Mario to turn into his super form, allowing him to smash through bricks and take an extra hit from enemies. In other games, it heals Mario and others who use it. The poison mushroom can be considered its opposite, a mushroom item that hurts the player. Both this and the standard mushroom are designed after the poisonous Amanita Muscaria, with the shape resembling a button mushroom. The idea for super mushrooms was originally believed to have been inspired by the cake that Alice eats in Alice's Adventures in Wonderland that makes her grow after being shrunk by a potion. However, Shigeru Miyamoto later corrected himself, saying that this was a misunderstanding. The mushrooms were actually inspired by the concept of mushrooms being associated with magical worlds in general, like the Wonderland of Alice's Adventures in Wonderland and the Mushroom Kingdom. So look, this is what we have. This is some powerful gematria. Super Mario and Amanita Muscaria equals 54 in reduction. So Super Mario and the scientific name for this specific mushroom, both 54 reduction. Fly Agaric and Magic Rome both equal 82 English ordinal, 46 reduction. Again, it actually is aligned. It connects. There's energetic frequencies here that are aligning. Then we have mushrooms have superpower and mushrooms compound growth. We've talked about this. It's the same concept right here. 333 ordinal, 117 reduction, 228 reverse ordinal, 117 reverse reduction for mushrooms have superpower. And so again, look, this is the red Amanita Muscaria, a large red mushroom. You'll see these in all the Nintendo Super Mario games. Very iconic symbolism. And Terrence McKenna actually talks about this mushroom in his book. So I'm actually going to read a couple pages from it. You know, we're studious here. If you're gonna be with me, we're gonna read, okay, and we're gonna learn. So just follow me as we read about this. It's on page 108. Objections to the fly Agaric. A couple pages off this. Again, this is the mushroom used in Super Mario Brothers. Very iconic. Genetically and chemically, Amanita Muscaria is extremely variable. Many kinds of fly Agaric do not provide a reliable aesthetic experience. Soil considerations and geographic and seasonal factors also affect its hallucinogenic properties. Use of a plant by a shaman does not necessarily mean it is ecstatic, like ecstasy, ecstatic. Many rather unpleasant plants are used by shamans to intoxicate themselves and to open up the crack between the worlds. Among these are the daturas, relatives of the Jimson weed, the arborescent brugamensa, whose pendulous blossoms are familiar as landscaping ornamentals, bright red and black sephora seeds, Brunfacilius, and Virola-based snuffs made of powdered tree resin. In spite of their shamanic uses, these plants do not induce an ecstatic experience that could inspire the rapturous praise heaped on Soma. Wassam himself was aware that Amanita was unreliable, as he himself never had an ecstatic experience from eating Amanita. Instead of realizing that Amanita Muscaria was unlikely a candidate for Vedic Soma, Wassam became convinced that some method of preparation must have been involved. but no ingredient or procedure has ever been found that reliably transformed the often uncomfortable subtoxic experience of Amanita into a visionary journeying into a magical paradise. Wasem himself knew of only one inexplicable, unreplicated exception. In 1965 and again in 1966, we tried out fly agaric's Amanita Muscaria repeatedly on ourselves. The results were disappointing. We ate them raw on empty stomachs. We drank the juice on empty stomachs. We mixed the juice with milk and drank in the mixture, always on empty stomachs. We felt nauseated and some of us threw up. We felt disposed to sleep and we fell into a deep slumber from which shouts could not have us rouse us. Lying like dogs, not snoring. Dead to the outside world. When in this state, I once had vivid dreams, but nothing like what happened when I took the psilocybin mushrooms in Mexico, where I did not sleep at all. In our experiments at Suduju, Japan, there was one occasion that differed from the others, one that could be called successful. Rokuya Imazeki took his mushrooms with miso shiru, the delectable soup that the Japanese usually serve for breakfast, and he toasted his mushroom caps on a fork before an open fire. When he rose from the sleep that comes with the mushrooms, he was in full elation. For 3 hours, he could not help but speak. He was a compulsive speaker. The purport of his remarks was that this was nothing like an alcoholic state. It was infinitely better, beyond all comparison. We did not know at the time why, on this single occasion. Our friend Amaziki was affected this way. The chemical compounds in Amanita Muscaria are muscarinin and muscimol. Muscarinin is highly toxic, and like most chlorineric poisons, its activity is reversed by injection of atropine sulfate. Muscimol is likely a candidate for the psychoactivity of the mushroom. Has been described as merely an emetic and a sedative. Human exposure to muscimol is not described in literature. Incredibly, the obvious step of giving muscimol to human beings to determine the psychedelic potential, if any, has been undertaken. This fact again points to the queasy illogic that overtakes the academic mentality in the presence of questions revolving around its self-induced changes in consciousness. To the above, let me add my own personal experience with the fly agaric. I have ingested it on 2 occasions. Once the specimens were dried, a collection made at sea level in Northern California. My experience of 5 dry grams was one of nausea, salivation, and blurred vision. Drifting images were present with eyes closed, but a trivial and unengaging sort. My second exposure was a dinner plate sized fresh specimen collected at 10,000 feet in the mountains behind Boulder, Colorado. In this case, salivation and stomach cramps were the only effects. Finally, here is part of an account of fly agaric incapacitation by an extremely sophisticated subject, a professional psychotherapist and neuropathologist. The dose taken was 1 cup of finely chopped mushroom. The mushrooms came from the Pecos River drainage of New Mexico. I was occasionally twitching and a gleam of perspiration over me. Saliva dribbling rapidly out of my mouth. I did not know how the time passed. Thought I was awake, awake or dreaming dreams that were totally lifelike, dreamed in total awareness. I was only dimly or not at all aware of the music being played. Threw off my blanket, very hot and sweaty and very cold chilled, with no visible chills. It seemed unusually quiet inside. I was very stoned, unlike anything I ever felt before. Psychedelic is too broad of a term, too all-encompassing. It was not truly psychedelic. It was as if everything was exactly the same but totally unfamiliar. But it all looked like I knew it to be, except to this world was about, except that this world was about a shade or a quantum level, all different, different in an eerie, profound, and unmistakable way. I was ataxic, unable to coordinate voluntary movements, and euphoric. There was very little visual stuff. In short, Amanita Muscaria is doubtless, an effective shamanic vehicle in the floristically limited Arctic environment in which it has been traditionally utilized as a psychoactive agent. But the rapturous visionary ecstasy that inspired the Vedas and was the central mystery of the Indo-European peoples as they moved across the Iranian plateau could not possibly have been caused by the Amanita Muscaria. So it's kind of like a mystery. Um, huh. Well, it is interesting. The guy, where'd he go? Yeah, he was in Japan, and he talked about his experience as Sugadaria, Japan. There was one occasion that differed from others that could be called successful. Ryoka Imazeki took his mushrooms with Miro's Shiru. So maybe that's it. Maybe the Japanese version of this mushroom is what makes it superpower. Because to him, to Raikuya, it was a superpower. He felt really good. So that's interesting. It's a mystery.